Men, has a woman ever paid the bill for you on a first date? I went on a dinner date yesterday. It went really well and we both got along swimmingly. She even said at the end of the date that it was one of her best dates in recent memory. The bill came and I reached into my pocket for the wallet and she said, "Number. I'm getting this one." I said, "Nah, stop playing," and I got my wallet out, but she grabbed the bill quickly before I could get it and used her card. I was absolutely shocked. In my 10 years of dating, a woman has never paid the bill on a first date. They usually do the fake purse grab or whatever, and I don't care personally. I'm a traditionalist in that sense, more than happy to pay the bill. But she actually made sure that she paid for it and we went back to my place. What a great day. Embarrassing story. I took a girl to a very fancy restaurant in the middle of nowhere on her first date. Problem: I forgot we were in a country where cash is king and only had my debit card with me. She ended up paying. Apparently she didn't mind that much because she ended up marrying me. She knew she wanted to bang you and didn't want it to feel transactional. It removes any sense of obligation on her part. This is Reddit. Most people here haven't been on dates. I'm a woman. I did multiple times. Especially if I was the one initiating a first date. Some men didn't let me pay, but some did. I think I wanted to give the signal that I was not dating for their wallet nor expecting them to pay. And I also believe that it's nice to give men a break. Can't wait for the comments saying I'm a pick-me girl lol. However, on my last date, that man absolutely refused. He is a bit traditional-ish in terms of dating and very gentleman. He's my husband now. I think it's great that society is getting rid of the stereotype that the man should always pay for the food. Yes, she did. My fiancé did this. I was upfront on splitting the bill as it's a policy I have. I ran to the bathroom, I had to really go, and we were waiting for the waitress for a while. I come back and the bill is paid for. I was like, "Oh, let me pay you for my half," and not grateful for it. Heck, I complained like a dummy. She found it funny and liked that I was upset. Anyways, fast forward, we will be getting married and I don't complain if she buys me food. Cool that you like that, my friends, and I always pay on the first date and regularly thereafter. Too many guys think the price of the meal includes a whole serving of what we're sitting on. Any guy who gets irritable about it enters the no-fly zone. No. Not on the first date, but any good woman will pay at some point. As a woman, I always offer to pay for at least half of my bill on the first date, but I'm always refused. I also offer to pay on second and thirds for the whole bill and also refused. I never like the idea of the guy having to pay for everything. Especially when I generally make more than they do. Just doesn't seem fair. I've had genuine offers before, but I always took the bill. My now wife tried to pay for our first date, but I told her that it was on me, and if she had a good enough time, she could pay for the second date. She had a good enough time. I paid for the second date anyway. Cool. Happened once in undergrad. We went to get sandwiches after meeting at a party. She refused to let me pay. Then she refused to let me sleep. One woman paid for our first date. She chose a pretty expensive restaurant and paid for it. We're married now. She's clearly a keeper, not just because she paid for our first date. Yeah, the girl paid for my dinner. We awkwardly talked for a while, then went to a lookout to see a shooting star. At some point she looked at me and asked if she could give me a BJ. I didn't know we were going out on a date. She did. 10/10 experience. Yes, a few times I tried to pay but they weren't having it. I'm a woman. I always pay. My first date with my now fiancé, she instead on paying the check at the restaurant. It was a very light bill. Couple drinks and an app we shared at a not fancy place. I objected, but she insisted, so I let her. I think it was because we met online and I drove 2 hours to meet her. We met in near her town. So, makes sense. You drove all this way, so I'm picking up the bill. I mean, some women are more comfortable with this those days. So yeah, it happens. My wife offered to grab the bill. I got to it first. That was 19 years ago. Have a girl pay for the whole date? Never. Have a girl offer to pay for her half? Once. But she looked offended when I let her pay for her part. My wife had a great approach on our first date. She wanted to split the bill. I declined. So after dinner she suggested a nightcap at a cocktail bar and she picked up the tab. I thought that was a cool move on her part. My wife picked up our after-dinner bar tab on our first date. I paid for dinner and then we went to a bar, had a few more drinks, and she paid that tab. I've been offered and always decline. I appreciate the gesture and my respect for them grows. But I am financially stable. And have not been financially stable before. I'd rather spend money I know I for sure have than have someone else spend money they may or may not have. Almost all my dates have each person paying for their own food and drinks. No, never. And I have been on probably 50 or 60 first dates. Honestly, when I ask a woman on a date, I just assume I'm paying the bill for the first one. And if we have a second, I'm okay with that too. The gesture. The courtship, no problem. Where it starts to get weird is if a professional woman with her own decent income looks at me on date 3 and is like, yeah, I'm not paying. And it's like, chica, you have a job too. True story, yes. Once. Found out later that night she had a penis. So it all kind of made sense then. I always go out expecting to pay for my half of whatever a date is. Men will often offer to pay for the whole thing, and if they insist, I will let them. But I do push back several times to be sure the offer is genuine and not one they're making out of obligation. I was out of town and met up with a friend and she ended up paying for the drinks. It threw me off. Because she paid, it made me feel like she wasn't interested. Ladies of Reddit, is that a possibility? Yeah, I just paid the tip. Once. But only because we played credit card roulette. Lol. 6 years to this day and we SITLL do it for the lulz. I've had it happen twice. Most of the times the girls at least offer to pay or to split. Yep. Not super often. But it happens from time to time. The woman I dated before I met my now fiancé paid on our first date. Never, but I wouldn't complain if it ever happened. Not a man, but I have split, been treated, and treated my date on first dates. Just depends. My old roommate always paid for her guys. They also always cheated on her. I let the guys pay. But I'd straight cover your rent if you needed it. I'm at a point of not trusting a dude who won't put his money where his mouth is. Even if it's dollar menu at Taco Bell. I am a woman and I insist on at least paying my half. I have then been criticized for being a feminist or trying to be masculine. No, otherwise I would probably be married to her. Got a good one, mate. Hold on tight, cuz they get swooped quickly. I'd feel weird if I didn't pay. Once. I was in Bangkok and met a local girl on Tinder. Went to this outdoor bar Christmas market thing. I got some food and a couple of beers. I don't think she ate. And at the end she insisted on paying. Totally took me by surprise cuz I totally assumed she would expect me to pay with the wealth gap. It was such a sweet gesture. No other girl in Europe has ever done that for me on a first date. I pay my portion if I'm not sure about the guy but know that I don't want to owe him, and pay the whole bill if I definitely don't plan on being in a relationship with the guy. She is a keeper.